Final hour overdrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. We'll have a little SGP we'll get to later this hour. Same game parlay up on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Eagles minus 6.5 at home against the Vikings. The pick is in. Hayes and company. Although there's still no company. I want that to be clarified. I am on my own here. I'm on an island. I've had a lot of people reaching out.
You made fun of me, O-Dog and Co. So now you're Hayes and Co.
That's fine.
But what does it need to take for you to get to, for you to bring somebody in?
Bad week. Another bad week. I'm on the Eagles tonight, minus 6.5. If it gets ugly, I think we're betting 6 games, right? Thursday, 6 games, because there's 2 on the Monday night. So if I go 3-3 or worse, I need help.
Right.
And I will find help because, again, there's a lot of people out there reaching out saying, I want to be a part of this. Because they understand what I represent. I represent
Hang on a sec.
Winning.
Really? Who has reached out to you and
I'm not going to reveal any names. I'm not going to speak publicly.
I would like to be a part of this.
I'm not going to tell you publicly. Yes, I guarantee you multiple people have been reaching out saying, I really want to be a part of the program. And a couple of them would shock you.
Really?
Shock you.
What if it was Luke Wilson?
Could be. He's got no standards. Yeah. Right? He's got no integrity. Luke will flip. Luke will flip again.
I don't know.
We're talking like heavy hitters.
Jesse Palmer. What if it was Jesse Palmer?
No.
That would be good.
I'm not going to reveal names.
Jesse Palmer doesn't even know that this guy's alive. Do you understand that?
He was on the show yesterday.
I know.
Yeah. Or 2 days ago.
I guarantee you, if Duthie was with Jesse Palmer at a restaurant right now and he said, do you know Jeff O'Neill or Bryan Hayes? He'd say, absolutely not.
That's not true.
Dude, it's true.
I don't think it's true.
Is Duthie buddies with Palmer?
Oh, yeah. They do the Super Bowl hits all the time.
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean they're buddies. Remember Chris Bosh in the NBA Finals when Bosh and Duthie were doing
Bosh was
courtside hits? Bosh was like, I'm not really sure who that guy is.
Not familiar with him.
I will say that is one thing about Duthie. Whatever particular sport and analyst he's working with, he acts like they're best friends. And it's not the case 90% of the time.
Well, I think the World Cup crew, they got really close, right? Like if you're over in Qatar for a long time.
Yeah.
Right? Like Stephen Caldwell. He took Duthie under his wing.
He's down at the Masters. He's tight down there.
Bobby Weeks.
Graham
Dillette. Graham Dillette's a good buddy of James Duthie's. I don't think there's any disputing
I've seen
that.
Duthie blow off a lot of different people that aren't on the scene for that week.
I find that hard to believe.
He saw Graham Dillette at the World Juniors, and he was like, yeah, okay, buddy, hang on. It was a bit. It was like that.
That's a shame.
Listen, we know what it's been like to be blown off. Do you remember us at Barrie when we ran into Craig Button?
I've never seen anything like it in my life. I've never seen anyone more stunned and then immediately
pretended he didn't know us.
Yes, disturbed by the idea that we were there.
It was in the scouts room. That's why we walked into the scouts room.
Yeah,
and that's Craig's Stanley Cup. He knows everybody in there.
That was 6 years ago. It was 6 years ago around this time because it was September of 2017, I believe. And Svechnikov was playing for the Barrie Colts. Morgan Frost was on the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. Morgan just signed a new deal down in Philly.
A couple of years.
And we were up there for my ceremonial appreciation
I was on
night.
the ice with the Barrie Colt mascot outfit on, waving at Craig, thinking he would know that I was inside of it.
Mm-hmm.
He had no idea.
No.
Although
if he did, though, he wasn't going to acknowledge you. We walked into that scouting room. You're right. We were in the scouts room. There must have been 10 scouts in Craig. And Craig was holding court.
He was holding court.
Everyone was like, man, Craigie's up here. We got to hear what he thinks about the draft and all this.
Yeah, give us your list. Give us your list.
The three of us walked in. Hey, Craigie! He looked up and was like, oh, God, I'm so angry these guys are here.
Well, what happened probably 5 minutes before it is some guy said to him, do you know those donkeys on OverDrive? And he probably said, yeah, they're idiots, but they're not bad. And then all of a sudden we walked in.
We walked through the door.
Yeah.
He was so shocked to see our faces.
He was shocked.
Like, oh my God.
In shock.
I got to find a way to be nice to them.
Yeah.
And still hold court with all of these
you know what
it
looked like? You know when there's three of you and you've been drinking and you're boozed up, and then you run into a sober guy and he's like, "Oh, leave me," and you run into the room. What's up? Like that's what it felt like. Like your fourth roommate didn't go out that night, and the three of you came home buckled.
He was disgusting.
And the fourth guy's like, "Just shut up! I'm watching a movie. Like I don't care about your night. I don't want to hear about your night, and I'm not interested in anything you three represent right now."
Yeah,
that was Craig.
Yep.
But we got over it.
We got over it.
Right?
That was a dust-off.
That was an all-time Hall of Fame, a room with plaques in it type dust-off. All right, Jays Rangers tonight. Jays are losing, 26-7 on aggregate? Yeah. 26-7 aggregate against the Rangers.
It's not good.
It's really, really, really disgusting. And Texas was so bad coming in. That's the amazing thing. Like, Texas was running away with the AL East a month and a half ago. And they put themselves in this spot where the Jays felt like, you talk about dusting a team off. The Jays thought they'd come in here, win at least 2 of 4, if not 3 of 4, and dust off Texas. Yeah. Pack your bags, get a U-Haul, you guys are done. And it's been the complete opposite. To chat about it, among other things league-wide, here's our good buddy Dallas Braden, former MLB pitcher. And you know his podcast, Baseball is Dead, the Baseball is Dead podcast. What's happening, Dallas?
How we doing, boys? How's it going?
Not good, buddy. Not going to lie to you up here in Toronto. Really not positive vibes. Where last night was one of the more embarrassing regular season losses, I think, in franchise history. I really don't think that is hyperbole. They lost the first 2 games poorly, and they got skunked 10-0 at home last night. They got booed off the field. Like, do you have any explanation for what's going on with the Blue Jays right now, or what?
It almost feels like it's you can lazily just kind of dump it on. That's baseball, because I think we understand the give and take when it comes to this time of season. What I remember, though, is at-bats at this time of the season, these at-bats are not given away, whether it's on the mound or at the plate. And so when you have a game where it's a 10-0 sort of outburst, you're kind of, I made the comparison the other day. It's like the beginning of the movie Saving Private Ryan, where they're on the beach and it's like the fog of war. You're looking around, you can't hear much, you're picking up body limbs, and you're going, what just happened? You're not even sure. As the Oakland A's just left town in Arlington, we went through something very similar. The Texas Rangers coming off the heels of an absolute drubbing at the hands of the Houston Astros. They were outscored 39-9. They hit 16 home runs, the Astros did, over that set against the Rangers. And then we roll into town, and the Rangers look like a completely different ball club. And it was a matter of 24 hours, really, because the last 72 hours, they look like a JV high school baseball team, comparatively speaking. And that just wasn't the case when we rolled into town. So I think you can attribute it to, maybe some of the lackluster offense, just not quite the punch that I think on the whole you folks up north are expecting or used to seeing. I think you could probably circle Vlad, and I understand that at the end the production isn't going to be as down as you might see across the board, but I don't know that it's a Vlad-type season that you expect if he's going to be the guy that has carried the offense at times. I'm not saying this season. That, I think, has been more Bo Bichette, unfortunately not able to produce the way he'd like to right now. But it has felt like it's just kind of you don't have many answers because you're not quite sure what the heck just happened. It happened so quickly.
Dallas, when you get past Vlad and the production and what they're doing with runners and scoring position and the lack of productivity, like, do you just get to a point where you're like, maybe we misread this team and they're not that good to begin with? Like, when you just put all of it into a blender, can you come up with the conclusion that maybe they're not that good of a team?
I think when you have the young guys who have come up the way that they have, here the last month and produced and been able to contribute, I think it kind of distracts you maybe from some of what you're saying, where you almost ask yourself, well, where was this production and why haven't we had it as of late? Why is it taking these new guys to come up, these younger guys, and maybe it's some injury issues that we're trying to plug holes in, but what is going on? And I honestly do think that a down year, and look, I hate to go back to the Texas Rangers, but Marcus Semien, being a good friend of mine, just had this conversation with him. It was last year where Marcus Semien hadn't had a home run until the month of June, and he hit his first one in Oakland. And same thing with Vlad, right? Hadn't had a homer on the road until it was in Oakland. So we kind of got him going. But it feels like without the typical seasons that you would expect from some of the guys, like even a Matt Chapman, it does leave a little left to be desired, because on paper you felt like this was a team that should absolutely be at the forefront of the conversation when it comes to the division.
At what point does a manager come in and change the mood a little bit, throw some bats around, start yelling, kicking garbage cans, stuff like that? I know you can't pull that out too often, but is this a scenario where you're down the stretch here, you don't have many games, and you're trying to press some buttons? Does that work, or is that maybe just too old school?
It can work. Here's the thing. You have to have buy-in from the folks in the room. And if we are 2 weeks out and we are facing our season mortality, it shouldn't be difficult to get everybody pulling on the rope in the same direction, right? You can kind of almost say, look, take your numbers over the last 5 months, take my numbers, take everybody's production over the last 5 months, ball it up and throw it right off the CN Tower. Don't care about it. See you later. But what we do need to do is get on the same page these last 2 weeks here. If we're going to be thinking about bonus baseball in October, we have got to get on the same page right now. And I understand that there's probably some corners of that clubhouse that might not be as tight-knit as you'd like to see, some guys maybe on their own programs. And now is the time for you to get off of your own program and get on the same program as everybody in the building. Otherwise, it's going to be a futile exercise.
With Dallas Braden, you mentioned earlier, and we keep hearing that talking to different people around the game, around the team. Hey, it's baseball. It doesn't always go your way. You got to stay even-keeled. But as you also mentioned, like this time of year, man, you battle. Like you battle in the box. You don't give anything away. And there's no sense that is the case here with the Blue Jays, which I think is why it's so frustrating watching them at this point, Dallas. Like their approach at the plate in particular, especially their best players, terrible. No sense of urgency.
And this is where, I've watched, and I've been fortunate enough to watch a guy like Esteury Ruiz, a young kid we have playing center field for us right now. And, I mean, he can move. He can scoot. He's going to steal 60-plus bags. He broke the A's rookie stolen base record before the All-Star break. He had that wrapped up before the All-Star break. So watching a club like Oakland have to figure out different ways to generate offense, that could very well be something we see a manager do. And I know here it's hard pressed. It's time pressing right now. It's time sensitive. As I said, we got about 2 weeks left of this thing if we're going to make any noise here. But maybe there's an idea to, if we get on base, we need to start moving the game along. Maybe we try to create some offense ourselves and eliminate some of the pressure that comes from Vlad trying to hit the 3-run homer, even with nobody on base. He's just trying to do maybe a little more than he should in times. And if you can get some guys on base, just thinking about trying to punch the holes. And that's so much easier said than done right now, because that takes me back to just kind of putting a bow on the at-bats that you just touched on. Those aren't given away. And on the flip side of that, the man on the mound is not interested in just trying to ease over a 2-1 slider right now. That 2-1 slider might be as nasty as a 0-2, 1-2 slider you're going to get, because he does not want to let you get back into the at-bat. So I think just thinking of different ways and trying to take advantage of opportunities that might reveal themselves to create offense is something you have to keep an eye peeled for.
With Dallas Braden. So what's your read on this wild card race, Dallas? We know Tampa's going to win it. They're going to end up with home field in the wild card. They're going to be the first wild card team. At this rate, it's Texas, then Seattle, then the Jays are a game out. Looking ahead 2.5 weeks from now, who do you see in the playoffs beyond Tampa in the wild card spots in the AL?
Oh, man, I think Seattle has a great shot. Look, and just because we're talking about the Jays, I don't see any reason why, if they don't get the production that they can get from their arms in the rotation, that they aren't giving themselves a chance to win 3 out of 5 times a night. And I think down the stretch, that's something very important right now. But that's why the Seattle Mariners are also that threat, because of what they've got going with Castillo and Kirby and Gilbert. I mean, they've got dudes that can spin it as well. I think I want to believe that the Toronto Blue Jays can figure out a way to buy in together and ride a bounce-back season from Jose Barrios, a guy in Chris Bassett who's going to give you absolutely everything he has every time he takes the mound. And Kikuchi, he's trying. He's trying. And the bullpen, you've got some help. But I think the Mariners probably have a really good shot. The Texas Rangers, having just lost Max Scherzer, I wonder how much of an impact that's going to be down the stretch here. What is it, 2-3 more turns through the rotation? So you look up, and if you're the Texas Rangers and you miss this dance by a game or two, you're going to have those what-if feelings surrounding the vacancy of the rotation with Max Scherzer not in it. But I think right now, the Seattle Mariners are a team to keep an eye on, especially with the way that the J-Rod show has put that club on his back the last seemingly 2 months now it is. So this is an exciting time for baseball, and just because I'm a homer, I'm going to have to let you know, and I'm going to have to remind you that it's the green and gold, the Oakland A's, who are in the thick of this thing, regardless of where they're going to be dancing at the end of the last pitch of the season. They are going to have their dirty little fingerprints all over this wild card.
That's right.
Dallas, how's it been? I mean, there's the talk of the relocation, just the overall vibe in Oakland, the games, the team, the record. I know it's difficult. You're employed and you cover the games, but what is the overall mood like?
Well, the best part about it for me is I get to just play that dumb jock card, because that's what people essentially reduce me to, just a rock thrower. That's fine. So then you know what I get excited about? The rocks that are getting thrown out on the field. And right now we've got such a young, exciting group of players. And I've watched this unfold in 16, 17, and years like that with the group of Matt Chapman and Matt Olson and Chad Pinder. Chris Bassett was a part of that group. And guys just seemingly got better all year long. At the end of the season, it really started to shine through, and then they hit the ground running the year after that. So with a guy like Zach Geloff, who has taken the league by storm, taken the franchise by storm with his historic start to his career, Lawrence Butler has come up and really turned heads with some of the ridiculous power and exit velo he's flashing. Nick Allen has just gotten that much better with the arrival of Zach Geloff. So that is a long-winded way to tell you that I really don't care about what else is going on outside of the field, because I can't control any of that. My phone isn't ringing. I'm not getting a link to those Zoom calls, making those really important decisions. I'm just showing up at the ballpark, calling baseball, and this team has made that so much easier for me to do here these last 2 months because of how much they are willing to go in and roll up their sleeves and go to work each and every day, even after taking shots on the chin like they do day in and day out.
Well, you got a couple more weeks, and then that'll be the end of the road for Oakland. But as you pointed out, they have a big spoiler role to play before we get to that point. So enjoy those games as always, Dallas, and we appreciate you finding time for us. Thank you.
No problem. That's it. I said the Oakland A's job is to be that silent gastral emission in the room.
Yeah.
You're not sure where it came from. By the time you figure it out, it's way too late. You're joking.
Well, we look forward to it. Thank you, Dallas.
We'll see you, boys. Thanks for having me.
You got it. Dallas Braden, former MLB pitcher, analyst for the A's, and Baseball's Dead podcast co-host. Yeah, the A's, man, they took 2 of 3 against Houston, right? They got 1 against the Jays. They're going to play Texas. They're going to play Seattle.
I mean,
we'll see.
It's ugly, though.
Yeah, and eventually they're going to Vegas. Now, like Dallas said, that's not his. He has no say in that one way or the other. But
that's the thing with the A's. It's been year after year, young players, just like he said, those guys that he mentioned. Isn't one of the kids he just mentioned the guy that just hit 50 homers for the Braves?
Yeah, Olsen. Yeah, exactly.
Olsen,
that was Anthopoulos. He stepped in, yeah.
So it's like young kids, they come up to become studs, and it's like, I'm out of here. It's like, how long can you – that's so depressing.
Yep. That's exactly it, man. That's Marcus Semien.
Didn't they have a possum in their,
Yeah, in the opposing team's press box, there was a possum living in it.
Possum sticking.
And no one went to go get it. I guess you can't. Like, if the thing's living in kind of the
well, you can't
inner workings.
Shout out Jonas Siegel's favorite player, Juan Soto. He got 30 dingers.
Yeah, there you go.
His 30th dinger last night. I did not know that. I thought he was like going down a dark road as far as his production. 30 dingers, Juan Soto.
They're going to miss the playoffs.
Do you remember the argument? Wasn't he the best hitter?
Best hitter Jonas had ever seen.
Let's call Jonas tomorrow. I haven't talked to him forever. Let's get him on. I want Jonas Siegel on tomorrow.
Well,
he just came out with a piece, 12 biggest questions coming into training camp.
Okay.
We can discuss all of that.
We can do that. Is he at the rookie camp? Like, I'm guessing, right? Toronto's playing Columbus right now. The rookies are playing the rookies.
Yeah.
We're getting live tweets. The first live tweet action of the Maple Leafs
First
season.
guy on the ice.
Yeah,
I
who
love
is
those
it?
ones.
Yeah,
Hockey Head? Was it Hockey Head, first guy on the ice?
yeah.
No, but he was dancing out there today.
Weren't they losing 5-0 after 2
They
periods?
were losing 5-0. I think they
Yeah.
ended up losing 7-3.
Okay, so maybe.
So maybe we get Jonas on for a full breakdown of that. And the 12 burning questions.
of training camp.
I'm trying to think of. Like
Yeah,
I
hey,
could get to
hey.
5 off the top of
Don't
my head.
slide it until
I
you
won't.
either read it or we have them on
Where
to
does
talk
Niles
about
I
it.
will read
play?
it. I will read it. Yes.
Defensive pairings.
William Nylander will probably be on that. Joseph Wall versus.
Does Max Domi play center or left wing?
Yeah.
Who play? Where does Bertuzzi play? Mm-hmm. Is John Klingberg going to quarterback the power play? That would
There you
be
go.
interesting.
We
I've
got
a
them all.
bunch already.
Yeah, we'll take care of it all, right? But we'll still get Jonas on, and we'll make sure that he can list them all off for us.
Exactly.
We can do that. All right, Thursday night or tonight, Eagles at home against the Vikings. Shawne Merriman will join us, get his take on Week 2 in the NFL. He suffered an Achilles injury as well in his career. What is Aaron Rodgers about to go through? We'll catch up with Shawne. And our best bets brought to you by FanDuel. Still to come. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, today's best bets are powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. All right, Eagles money line tonight. Take the spread out of it in a parlay. Eagles money line tonight. You got to pay juice on that, but we're parlaying here, right? A.J. Brown, 50-plus receiving yards. Justin Jefferson, 60-plus receiving yards. Jalen Hurts, anytime touchdown. I think Hurts runs one in tonight.
Yeah.
That parlay paying plus 308. We love it. Love it tonight. Can't wait for this game.
That seems like an automatic.
Hurts?
That's what we're looking
All
for.
of it.
The
All of it.
automatic across the board. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. The FanDuel Sportsbook app is the exclusive home of our OverDrive same-game parlay. Please play responsibly. Must be 19 plus and physically located in Ontario. We got to get one tonight. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's get after it here. But yeah, Justin Jefferson, man, he had an unbelievable first half last week, and then your boy Primetime Kirk barely threw him the ball in the second half. But he's all bent out of shape too because he wants a big contract, and they didn't give it to him, and he's not
You
going
want to talk
anywhere,
a guy that can hold some cards. If he doesn't get money or the ball, you do not want that guy unhappy. You do not want Jefferson unhappy.
He is unbelievable. Like he's the best right now.
In the pickoff, didn't he have that a ridiculous hit? Didn't he Cousins got picked off, and you see Jefferson just destroy the guy.
Yeah, I think you're right. It was Jefferson.
You go back on the Cousins pickoff, Jefferson comes kind of from the blind side and almost knocks the guy out. Because the guy wasn't paying attention whatsoever. He was looking over his right shoulder, and Jefferson hit him from the left side. It was unbelievable. Knocked his helmet off.
Those are so greasy, man. When it starts going the other way.
Knocked his helmet off.
Yeah. Rashawn Gary got a guy, too.
Didn't that guy come out in that movie and say none of that movie was true? You know that movie, The Blind
Yes.
Side?
Yes, he said the parents were milking the cash for him.
Sandra Bullock was greasing him.
Well, it wasn't Sandra
Not
Bullock.
literally Sandra Bullock, but, the real-life version.
The lady who played Sandra Bullock played.
Yes.
What was he claiming was untrue about it?
So
just all of it was nonsense?
His claim was that he thought he was signing adoption papers, and it was a conservatorship paper, which is what Britney Spears just went through. So he signed over his identity, his image, everything, all of his business, all of his rights to the family, and he's claiming now they have disputed
they greased
this.
him.
Yeah, that they made a bunch of money and he made nothing. Basically.
But he played in the NFL.
Yeah, he played in the NFL, and he had a good career. He made, a fair amount of money.
Yeah.
But also complaints about how he was portrayed in the movie, although the movie came out a long time ago, The Blind Side. Sandra Bullock won an Oscar, I believe, Best Actress. She was phenomenal in that. It's a great movie. But
wasn't he portrayed as kind of like
aloof and stupid and slow
and stuff, right?
And listen, he was and I can reason with him why he would take issue with that.
Right.
You're going into the room, it's like, hey man, I saw The Blind Side. What's up with this cat? And he's like, coaches wouldn't take him seriously and all that. And he's like, why? Because of the movie? It's Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I would be disturbed by that too, because forget all the other stuff. And this is real life serious stuff. If it happened, and it's an allegation, but if it happened where he got duped That's pretty greasy.
It is.
But also, I always took issue with the idea that, like, the mom, Sandra, who was played by Sandra Bullock, like, dragged him to the NFL.
Yeah.
Like that's possible. Like he had talent and drive, clearly. You can't be a stud at Ole Miss. You can't go, I think, 11th or 12th overall in the NFL draft and have an NFL career because a parent pushed you to it. I mean, there's just no way.
Well, I mean,
and that's how it was portrayed. Basically, if it weren't for Sandra Bullock, I keep saying Sandra Bullock, the real
lady,
mom,
yes,
that it wouldn't be possible for him to be a pro athlete.
Well,
which
I
is
don't
ridiculous.
know. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of it because you're right. They've disputed the claim, but
it's just so bizarre, Jamie. Like you're a big movie guy. Like it's such a positive movie. You feel good after you watch that. And it just comes out where it's like, that's not what it was. Yeah. It's not what it was.
Well, I don't know who it was. It was a pundit in the U.S. saying this guy's just spent all his money and wants some of the money that the parents took type of thing. Sort of like challenging him on that angle, saying there was enough money for everybody, but he's gone through his.
Right, and now he's done his career.
And the parents, the money they made off of it. So I don't know. Again, stuff like that, you never know who to believe.
Who's telling the truth
out,
here?
Right?
Yeah, there's alarm bells going off everywhere.
Yeah, it doesn't smell
right. And as people have rightly pointed out, like, you're just finding this out now. You didn't find it out when you were still playing.
Yeah.
And, the timing is a little bit curious. Yeah. But if it's true and he's just finding out now, then that's a wild turn of events.
It is.
Week 2 in the NFL starting tonight. Here's former NFLer, lights out Xtreme fighting on Fubo TV. You can find it, man. He's big in the MMA game, and he's back on OverDrive. Here's Shawne Merriman. What's up, Shawne?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good.
We're doing pretty well. We're looking into week 2 tonight, and we're curious where you stand on the Eagles because we were talking about this earlier. Like, teams that lose week 1, there's such a level of desperation for them to prove themselves in week 2 and find a way to avoid an 0-2 hole. And that would apply to the Vikings tonight. But the Eagles, they won week 1, yet they didn't play well. So psychologically, like, what's stopping you, if it is stopping you, from suggesting that the Eagles, even though they won last week, they still want to prove they're better than that, and they show up tonight and possibly lay a beating on Minnesota?
Yeah, I'll tell you this, man. In the NFL, a win is a win, right?
Mm-hmm.
For example, my Chargers losing 36-34 to the Dolphins, I would love for it to have been 36-34 the other way.
Right.
So I just think that, look, you take week 1, there's a lot of stuff to clean up through a lot of teams, but there's so much expectations on this Eagles team, man, and them get to the Super Bowl, the players that they have, the quarterback position, Jalen Carter, the wide receiver Smith and Slay, and all. I mean, they're stacked. If you look at this team, they're stacked across the board. Great pass rushing, interior guys. They're stacked all the way around, so the pressure is high on them. But if you're in the locker room and you win a game, even if it's ugly, you're happy because you got out of week 1. It's a win. You go back, watch film, you clean up everything, and you kind of just stay away from the expectations of everybody outside the locker room.
Shawne, do you think the Bills can clean it up this week? You talk about the response, but just there seems to be a lot of drama around Josh Allen, how he performed. Do you think they just get back on their horse and they get dialed in?
Well, I think this. Josh Allen is a great player. And the quarterback a long time ago was a great player who threw a lot of interceptions too, and that's Brett Favre, right? He threw a ton of them. Yep. And so sometimes when you overcome and you win games and you throw a pick or two, you have a turnover or two, it's overlooked. It's the fact that when you lose, that everybody starts to nitpick on the mistakes that you made, right? If you have 1 or 2 turnovers and you win the game, people don't even talk about it, right? If you lose the game by having turnovers, now you're the reason. I think Josh Allen came out and said to himself that he's the reason they lost. They need to play better. There's all kind of, talk now with because the signals of Stephon Diggs talking to him on the sideline, telling him to kind of relax. And so at this point, man, there's going to be a lot of drama to come out of there because they're a special team. Josh Allen is great. Stephon Diggs is great. But when you don't win, especially coming out of that division, when you don't win the games you're supposed to win, people are just going to jump on you over and over again.
I'm sure you've talked ad nauseum about the Aaron Rodgers injury. I want to go at it at a different angle. I see a lot of debates where it's turf versus the grass debate. Where do you stand on that?
Well, Look, there's no doubt about it that that grass is safer. There's just the science is there, the information is there. Grass is definitely safer. But then you would talk to some guys, a wide receiver or a corner or whatever, to say, hey, I like this because I'm fast. I'm faster. So there is a bit of a mixed emotion. I think that everybody's going to kind of jump on the fact that when something bad happens, like it happened to Aaron Rodgers, I tore my Achilles. And it is a gruesome injury. And when he first stood up after he tore it, and because you don't know, it just feels like you kicked hard, that someone kicked you, and you get up, and I'm sure he asked the guy, I was trying to figure out if somebody kicked him in the back of his leg, and when he found out that his foot dropped because his Achilles was torn, that's when you realize, man. But I remember chasing Michael Vick and thinking of whatever crazy idea I had in my head of thinking that I could catch Michael Vick. I ended up tearing my Achilles, and I looked around and see who kicked me, and it was no one near me 15 yards, and that's when I figured out that I tore it.
So you mentioned how difficult the rehab was. Speak to us on what's going through the mind of Aaron Rodgers right now and how difficult it will be for him, who's 39 years old. I'm not sure how old you were when you popped your Achilles, but for him to rehab through this and possibly return and play again.
Well, I'll tell you this, age doesn't help. Him being his age and not having much longer to play in the first place, I mean, we're looking at anywhere from 8 to 10 months. And it's a little bit position-based, right? So for me, when I tore my Achilles, you lose that explosion. Coming off the line of scrimmage, you got the offensive tackle, offensive guard, 330-plus pounds, a guy pressed up against you, and you're loading back on that Achilles. So physically, he'll come back fine. It's the mental aspect that's going to bother you, right? Every time he starts to roll out the pocket or he got to burst off of it or change direction, it always goes through your head. Am I going to tear this thing again? That was the biggest thing for me. I was so scared to explode off of that foot again, off of that leg, because that was the first time, that was the last time I tore it. The last time I tried to explode off of this as hard as I could, I tore it. So that mental aspect is what he's going to have to get over when he gets back.
Ooh, man, that's
So trusting it at moving forward would be the worst thing. Is this going to happen again?
And especially considering this will be it, right? If he rehabs it once, returns, and something happens again, that's it, man. He's not 25 and just going to keep making comebacks. He's got one comeback left in him, right, Shawne? That's what it feels like.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And to kind of take it even a step further, he'll get back on the field. He'll be ready to throw the ball and participate in training camp when it comes. It's going to be a long, grueling rehab. More importantly, you're going to lose a lot of muscle, and you have atrophy in that calf. And so you need to work on getting that back after the ligament heals up. It's one of the hardest and toughest injuries to come back from, only because you don't realize how much you rely on that Achilles until you tear it. You think of it as just a ligament, any change of direction, the bursting, and that Achilles tendon attaches to your heel. So I was when they showed the replay up against his calf, the first thing I saw his calf move. That means that tendon ripped from the bottom of his Achilles, from the bottom of his heel, and it rolled up into his calf. That's an Achilles. I didn't think it was anything else. Once I saw that, that was it.
Yikes. With Shawne Merriman, I'm seeing online that Jason Kelce of the Eagles, I guess, is talking about his experience at last year's Super Bowl, where he's telling people he had to spend $50,000 on tickets to get his wife in there, his daughters in there, I guess family members in there. And people are making a big deal out of this, suggesting that the NFL should have supplied him with free tickets. Obviously, that's not the case, but is that your experience in the NFL? The NFL doesn't give any freebies, and if you want people to come, you got to pay for it.
Well, I think they give you, if I'm not mistaken, 2 or 4 tickets, and they're decent. They're not great seats. They're decent, and I believe, I don't know what the price of them are now, but they're about $750 each or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know the ins and outs of if he wanted his family to sit in great seats, how many they were. Did he use his other 2 to 4 comps that he had? So you initially get 2 or 4 comps. In a sense, when I say comps, I mean you're paying $750 for Super Bowl tickets, right? Those are practically comps. Mm-hmm. But anything after that, if you got 6 or 8 people coming, you got to pay for those tickets. And so I'm not surprised at that. And it's unfortunate because any way you put it, it's going to make the NFL look bad, look cheap. And I don't think that's the case. And I'm sure if his family came and he wanted better tickets for them, they're not going to give away $50,000 seats when they could be selling them. It's just not going to happen for him or any player for that matter.
Shawne, I saw you working out the other day on Twitter. You're jacked. It's looking good. You're pumping up some meals. The two guys I work with are grossly out of shape. Do they have that stuff in Canada? Do they have those meals in Canada?
No, but I can send them out. I don't know how good they'll be by the time they get there. But, for me, it's just about consistency, man. Obviously being in the MMA space now, I get a chance to train and spar and stay in shape.
It's great, buddy. It's great.
Thanks, man. I just keep up, man. I'm really consistent.
Well, Lights Out Xtreme Fighting, you guys got a big one cooking. What, October 7th? Tell us about this.
Yeah, we got a huge fight October 7th. It'll be in Long Beach, California, but it'll be more. You can get more information at lightsoutxf.com if you want to learn more about us. Then we'll be live on Fubo TV, Fubo Sports. Man, we had a 75% jump in viewership from one fight to the next, man. So that, for me, that means a lot. I've always listened to the fans and the people out there, and then they're telling us that we're putting out good fights, the production's good, the quality's good. And we have the next up-and-coming superstars, man. That's the key in this thing, is get a chance to see these guys, both amateur and pro, before they become superstars in the sport. So check us out October 7th. We'll be live on Fubo Sports, Fubo TV. If you don't have it, make sure you get it.
You got it, man. Enjoy that. Enjoy week 2 in the NFL. We'll do it again soon. Thank you.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
Shawne Merriman. That's wild where he said, like, the way he described the Achilles rolling up your leg.
Yeah, it's like somebody kicking you or stabbing you.
Yeah, it's nasty, man. Like, it just is nasty. And they would have known. Like, there's doctors there. This idea that, like, of course, you got to go through the protocol of the X-rays and all that kind of stuff. Right. But by the time he got off the field, there were probably whispers on the sidelines. He's done. That's
Rodgers knows too. Like you know your body. You're like, something's not right there.
Yeah,
like right
I'm in
away.
big trouble.
There's another guy we can get on tomorrow. Your boy Willie. I saw him blow his Achilles right in front of my face.
Yeah.
Talk to him about the rehab.
Ugh.
Justin Williams, yeah. And he was young though, wasn't he? And he obviously recovered.
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't.
No, he was getting close to the end of the line, or
so how did you see
three-quarters
that?
of the way through, because I was on my tryout when I was a nobody again.
Okay.
I remember him calling me saying, "You want to play right wing? There's an opening."
Wow.
Done for the year.
Really?
Yeah.
Yikes. So you went
and
down
I
there.
think he tried to make like he heard it. He might have heard it again coming back. I'm not sure.
Well, that happens a lot, man. Or you compensate and other injuries
This
happen.
is why I don't think he's playing again.
I know, it's
Rodgers.
scary, man. Like he posted something on Instagram, I think yesterday, like
a note.
Yeah, basically, we'll see. And
left the door.
The door's open as it should be. And Salah's head coach, who I think is trying to will this into existence, is saying he'd be shocked if he didn't return. He's going to go through the rehab for the rest for the betterment of his life, right? Like, you have to rehab the injury. He will rehab it. He will rehab it vigorously. He's a pure athlete. He's not going to fall off the wagon and start eating horribly and get out of shape and all that kind of stuff. He'll be in shape. He'll be capable of playing again. The question is, will he play again?
Right.
Will he want to play again? How difficult it will be to put yourself back in the line of fire, right? Because once you get back out there, man, guys are coming for you.
I agree.
Like, that's the amazing thing about the NFL. Like Merriman popped his, like, with an explosive, like, kind of move off the edge or whatever. Like, he didn't get hit. He didn't get wrapped up and thrown to the ground. That's going to happen with Rodgers again.
Yeah.
Rodgers is going to get wrapped up and thrown.
They're not going to take it easy on him just because he's an old guy coming back from an injury.
Of course not.
They'll take him to the ground. You're right, hard.
Of course not.
Yeah.
All right, Jays Rangers tonight. We'll come back, tee it up again. Eagles versus the Vikings tonight. It's going to be a fun night. It's a good night. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, so Jays Rangers. Jays trying to salvage an ounce of respectability out of this series. Gosman on the mound. The thing is, the stats on Gosman, when he faces elite offenses, his numbers are not good. Grappler
what about run support?
Yeah, that probably could be helpful. Obviously, that has been an issue for him.
Isn't he the guy that goes on the mound and everyone turns into a little league hitter?
Yes, that is a big part of the issue. But Gosman versus top 10 in runs scored offenses. He's got a 4.59 ERA, a 124 WHIP, and he's 2-5. And the Rangers are third in Major League Baseball in runs scored. So the Rangers offense, they're dealing with some injuries themselves, but you got Simeon, you've got Seager. They know how to rake, man. They know how to play, and they're going to show up likely tonight. Like if you're Texas, you're walking in thinking these guys are dead men walking.
Yeah.
Like now you're getting greedy. If you're Texas, you're thinking if they leave, no way they flew into Toronto thinking they're taking 4-4.
No, not at all.
Like no chance they thought that was possible, and now they sniff some blood in the water, and they're like, man, you could really bury the Blue Jays tonight. And if the Jays lose this and they get swept in a 4-game series, that is crazy.
Well,
and it's now you're on the mat. How do you get off it?
The fans are, I don't know,
freaking out as they should be.
Forget about the series has just been a catastrophe, but they still got 15 more after this. Like you're playing for that. Like to come out of it with something on the positive end.
Right.
Because if they get their doors blown off again tonight, what the hell do you think happens the rest? It just seems like the rest is a write-off.
Well, that's it. You win tonight.
And it might be anyway.
You win tonight. You take 2 or 3 against Boston over the weekend. Then you might be in a playoff spot on Monday morning.
Yeah, well, that's probably what they're banking on. That's why they're playing it like, hey, it's baseball. It can change. Next week we could be back in the playoff spot.
I hate that, though.
Red Sox
Hey, it's
fired
baseball.
their GM, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
4 years into his tenure. Like, you look at Atkins, and Ross Atkins is going to have the answer for this mess if it goes sideways.
Yeah.
Ross has been here a long time, and outside of Pat Gillick, I think Ross Atkins has been like the longest-standing GM in Blue Jay history. I think he might be tied with J.P. Ricciardi in terms of term.
Really?
Like Anthopoulos left after 6 years, something like that. That's one that doesn't come up enough because of how the young Jays showed up and then they started coming alive and it had worked out.
Right.
But the fact that Shapiro came in and effectively isolated Alex Anthopoulos, like almost the first thing he did.
Right.
In retrospect, what a ridiculously awful decision. And it may not have even been intentional. Like again, you hire a Mark Shapiro who's a lifer in baseball. I guess it's on ownership. You hired a guy that was going to bring in his own people, and his own people were not going to be Alex Anthopoulos.
But the guy on the way out the door is recognized as like a Theo Epstein whiz kid now.
Yeah. Got them to the playoffs for the first time in over 20 years.
Yeah, that's...
And now he's a stud, to your point. All they do is win in Atlanta. Look at everything he's done.
Yeah. And everybody loved Alex in Toronto.
Yes.
Including us.
I mean? Yes,
of the show.
Everyone did. Everybody loved that guy.
Well, let's hope they turn it around. We don't have to have a somber chat tomorrow. How's that
Let's
sound?
just say this. If they get blown out again tonight, we're not even talking about them
Well, we
tomorrow.
have to.
It might be a boycott. It could be a boycott. Yeah.
Boycott.
It could be Jonas and Willie and my Eagles cover tonight. God,
yeah. Forget it. If they get blown out, we're not doing it
Would
tomorrow.
you tweet out? You can't tweet. You're not at Beansy.
A reverse Beansy? If anything, I got to send it to myself.
No, if you lose tonight, O's tweeting the Beansy picture.
He might tweet it at me. That would be a sick turn of events.
Whatever happens.
I want a Vikings lead early, and a FaceTime's coming with my partsy.
The worst possible outcome, though, is a backdoor cover. There's nothing worse in gambling.
Yes.
The game's over.
It's a useless starters
exactly.
Are out.
Eagles are winning by 13 or 10. And, 5 seconds left. Kirk Cousins throws a bomb and it gets caught. You're like, what are you doing? Why did you do that? Why did you throw that? Why did you catch it? Now you cover. You still lose.
Cover.
There's zeros on the clock.
Wow.
I could picture that happening tonight. I could.
I don't know.
Anyway. All right. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes today for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in as well. Radio, TV, podcast, web. We appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
Underpants Cam at halftime. 4 p.m.
We'll chat then.